Having successfully vanquished their enemies, the Z-Fighters restored peace to the Earth once more. However, an evil sorcerer's scheme has now resurrected the monster Hirudegarn. The Z-Fighters, along with the hero Tapion, stood bravely against the beast's savage onslaught. But Hirudegarn's power was overwhelming. With hope slipping away, Goku has channeled the full force of his power into a final desperate attack. At the behest of the wizard Hoi, the Z-Fighters undertook a quest to resurrect the hero Tapion. After successfully gathering the Dragon Balls, they called upon Shenron to grant their wish. Suddenly, the music box that served as a seal was destroyed, and the flute-playing hero appeared from within.
Cool!
Please stay away! What you've done is terrible!
But what have the Z-Fighters done to deserve Tapion's anger?
Wait!
His curiosity getting the better of him, Trunks took Goten to investigate this strange newcomer. Trunks approached in the spirit of friendship, interested to learn more about Tapion. But Tapion regarded the boy as though he were a vile monster.
He's a hero, all right. Real strong.
However, Trunks would not give up so easily, for once the young Saiyan's curiosity is aroused, no force can contain it.
The Great Saiyaman has arrived!
Evildoers, beware!
Great Saiyaman Mark 1!
Mark 2!
Are you sure about this?
Let him finish talking!
Oh boy, it is time for my favorite of the original 13 Dragon Ball Z films, Wrath of the Dragon. This game doesn't butcher this one quite as badly as it does the other films, but it doesn't preserve its atmosphere very well, to say the least. Admittedly, the opening part of the film where they introduce Hoi is a tiny bit underwhelming, and it doesn't help that Hoi always smiles evilly every chance he gets to smile evilly. Even though he's supposed to be some kind of deceptive manipulator, he always comes across as a clear bad guy because of that. Anyway, as the game mentioned, Hoi does convince the Z-Fighters to open the music box, but he first does this by finding out Gohan is the Great Saiyaman, and then pretending to commit suicide so the Great Saiyaman will come and save him. After he is saved, so to speak, he then tries to pique Gohan's curiosity into opening the music box, but that just turns to outright begging as Gohan leaves to go back to school, and he mentions that they need the Great Shenron. So Hoi has lied visibly twice already, but in spite of that, he seems to have Earth's best interests in heart. He mentions the reason they need to open the music box and free Tapion is because a great evil is approaching Earth that only Tapion can save them from. And the implication here is that in spite of his lying, everyone needs to trust him anyway and open the box to stop the great evil. And it would be interesting if we as an audience could agree with them, but because we see Hoi smiling evilly in the background, where nobody else can see him but us, we already know that he's the bad guy. And it's a little frustrating because the film could have easily painted him as a desperate good guy instead of just an outright bad guy at the start. All the pieces were there. He could have been lying because he was desperate to get the music box open so he could save the Earth, you know? That's been a plot point in a lot of other media, where a guy intends well, but he ends up lying a lot because he's so desperate to accomplish his goals. And if only the movie could have successfully convinced us that Hoi was one of those good guys, we would have experienced the twist the same way as the main characters did, and him being the bad guy would be a surprise. But no, the movie is intent on showing you from the very start that Hoi is the bad guy, which makes a lot of the interactions a lot less interesting, and removes a potentially interesting dynamic from the film. Anyway, on to the Hirudegarn fight. This is actually supposed to be the bottom half of Hirudegarn, and the movie presents actually a pretty intense and atmospheric fight with him. Videl and Gohan can't seem to figure out what this thing is or how to hurt it until Gohan discovers that it's vulnerable right as it attacks. It is successfully presented as a really strange and surrealistic threat that cannot be attacked in a traditional method, and that's very important to later in the movie. It's also important to note that Hirudegarn kills a lot of innocent people in this film, starting in this fight. Most of the city is in complete ruins by the end, and it feels like a real apocalyptic event.
We did it!
No, not yet.
What? But that monster is gone, right?
Tapion!
You can use this if you want.
Keep away from me!
Oh, forget it. See you later.
Oh no!
That expositional cutscene made it sound like Tapion fell asleep because he was upset at how he treated Trunks, but the movie does not imply that in the slightest. It implies he just fell asleep because he fell asleep. But when he does fall asleep, the top half of Hirudegarn fucking rips a hole through reality and appears in the room that he's sleeping in, and it's really fucking terrifying looking, and the film's best asset is its atmosphere, and that's really hard to get across with words. Tapion awakens pretty much immediately when Hirudegarn's top half appears, and he starts playing an ocarina, which seemingly causes the top half to completely vaporize. It wasn't really a fight like you're seeing here, but immediately after that, the next day, Trunks visits Tapion again and again, trying to be nice to him and bring him food. He notices Tapion's hideout is destroyed by Hirudegarn's top half, even though he didn't see Hirudegarn's top half, and shows a lot of care toward Tapion and is glad he's okay. In spite of this, Tapion is still rather cold to him until the wizard Hoi suddenly shows up and knocks the ocarina out of Tapion's hand. And then the wizard Hoi tries to lie to Trunks and say Tapion is the one bringing the monsters to the world. Trunks dashes for the ocarina and he has to choose whether to throw it to Tapion or Hoi, and nobody ever doubted that he was going to throw it to Tapion because he already had an affection for Tapion and he has no reason to believe Hoi. So even though the film acts like it's a dramatic moment, everybody already knew what he was going to choose. Regardless of that, Trunks' choice to believe Tapion and Trunks' constant affection toward Tapion eventually whittled Tapion down, and he returns the affection and actually starts treating Trunks rather pleasantly. It was important to mention this because the game itself barely mentions this little encounter with Hoi.
Trunks, trust me! Are you hungry too? Will you join me? There is a monster sealed inside my body. Thank you. Now I can sleep peacefully. It's a Rudagon! If I don't control it...
So this is where the game really drops the ball and offers an incredibly confusing explanation for Hirudegarn. What Tapion actually explained was that Hirudegarn is an ancient monster from his home planet that Hoi's race of wizards set free to annihilate all of Tapion's people, because Hoi's race believes that every other race is inferior to them and seeks to eliminate them by any means possible. He also calls Hirudegarn a phantom of mist and shadow who assassinates people and steals their life energy, which we can see it doing with tendrils later in the film. Hirudegarn was defeated on Tapion's home planet with a combination of an ancient sword and 2 ocarinas found in a temple. Tapion and his brother successfully distracted the monster while it was cut in half with the sword, and the 2 halves were sealed inside both brothers. Tapion got the upper half, his brother got the lower half, and they were sent to opposite ends of the galaxy after being sealed into music boxes to ensure that nobody would ever summon the monster ever again. So Tapion can't fucking sleep or else the upper half of Hirudegarn will appear and fuck everything up. And Bulma's special sleep box made of the same material as the music box actually seems to work. Except for the fact that the upper half and lower half get stronger when they're near each other, and Hoi is in possession of the lower half. So he just goes around rampaging with the lower half until the upper half gets really pissed and tries to break out while Tapion is sleeping in spite of the music box sleep box thing.
Oh, no you don't!
Smashing things up for no good reason? That really irritates me. You're too close. And I will not burn!
I have no idea what the sweet fuck that dialogue for Vegeta is supposed to be, because in the film Vegeta only joins the fight because Hirudegarn stepped on his house. But yes, now the 2 halves are reunited because Tapion could not play the ocarina in time. The lower half simply got too close and Tapion was not strong enough. And this massive fight the Z Fighters have with Hirudegarn is kind of interesting because, like Tapion said, he is a creature of mist and shadow. So every time they try to land a blow on him, no matter how powerful, he just kind of vanishes into mist and reappears elsewhere. It doesn't matter how strong they are, they can't seem to hurt him at all. So they end up being unable to defeat him not because he's just stronger or just faster, but because of a special gimmick that was described not only in the backstory by Tapion, but by characters early in the film and earlier confrontations with Hirudegarn. Tapion stays back at the request of the Z Fighters and attempts to let them handle it, but when it's clear that no amount of power is going to solve the situation, he sees fit to step in. Because only his ocarina seems to have any suitable effect on Hirudegarn, and after he stuns Hirudegarn with that ocarina, he successfully seals the entire monster inside of his body instead of just half of it.
It doesn't matter how much power we have. It's still not good.
Wow, you really are a hero!
I can't let this planet get involved!
So as I was saying, this is the part where Tapion steps in because the Z Fighters aren't getting the job done, and he seals the whole fucking thing inside himself. It was a big enough deal that half the monster was sealed inside of him, and that was done by a professional wizard, not by Tapion. But this time, Tapion sealed Hirudegarn inside himself by himself. That's gonna take some fucking guts and skill. We're also going to use this opportunity to clean up some stuff that the game doesn't mention, like Hoi getting stepped on by Hirudegarn, and it's pretty clear that Hoi was never in charge in the first place. He was just very egotistical. Then there's also the little fact that this version of Hirudegarn you're seeing right here is not the original Hirudegarn. Yeah, not only could they not be bothered to create upper and lower half models for Hirudegarn, but they didn't bother to create a model for Hirudegarn's first form. You see in that battle with the Z Fighters, Gotenks managed to land a lucky shot on Hirudegarn, and it cracked open his shell, and what came out is what you see right here, which is the only character model they made for the guy. So it makes the film's plot very confusing if you haven't watched it, because Hirudegarn being in two halves is very important, and Hirudegarn breaking out of his shell into this glowing creature is very important. If you don't know that that happens, then the story makes a lot less sense. I know there must be a couple of other things I'm missing. Oh yeah, the Ocarina seems to completely protect Tapion from harm, especially by Hirudegarn. It is a mystical artifact. And, oh yeah, this one is kind of very important. In this next cutscene, there's a dramatic scene where Tapion asks Trunks to kill him. And the reason I'm spoiling this is because the movie does it way more dramatic than the game could ever hope to. Because Tapion has the guts to ask, do you want to see everyone you care about die? Yeah, he just comes out and asks that immediately. He doesn't fuck around with Trunks. He knows Trunks doesn't want to kill him. But goddammit, that's the truth. You either kill me and get rid of this monster inside me, or everyone you love dies. And it's actually a really tense situation, and Trunks is even about to do it, but of course he doesn't because Goku has to be the one to save the day. This is Dragon Ball Z.
Trunks! Strike me down and end Hirudegarn!
I can't do that!
You must, Trunks, or the Earth will be destroyed! Please, let me die as a hero!
When the unstoppable Hirudegarn reappeared, Goku was forced to resort to drastic measures.
Looks like I have no choice. Because if I don't...
Who will?
Now, something very neat about that line of dialogue is that it is not said anywhere in the film or even remotely hinted at in the film, but it is instead part of the lyrics of the ending song. So it's kinda neat that they managed to include those in the dialogue in one way or another, even if it doesn't make all that much sense. So the reason Super Saiyan 3 Goku is able to kill Hirudegarn in spite of Hirudegarn being invincible to traditional attacks is because Hirudegarn is vulnerable to intense emotions in general, like right as he attacks or when Tapion plays his Ocarina. So Goku plays into this by making Hirudegarn attack him multiple times and then striking back after those multiple blows have been dealt. And, you know, I get that they wanted Goku to save the day. I feel like it would have been better if Tapion got to have his heroic sacrifice, but that wouldn't be a happy ending, I suppose. So even though it feels like the film wanted two entirely separate conclusions, at least both conclusions relatively make sense within the story structure. Both of them are very established reasons that Hirudegarn can be permanently dealt with. The film is not perfect and it has a lot of quirks, like characters acting strangely, changing their mind constantly, not behaving consistently in general, sometimes knowing things they shouldn't know or have no way of knowing. And just a bunch of really lazy, simple mistakes, but it still has a creative and threatening villain with interesting gimmicks, and, you know, Tapion is an interesting character, his struggle is interesting, and the motivations behind what he does and what everyone else does are believable. That's more than you can say for a lot of the original 13 Dragon Ball Z films, but in addition to that, Wrath of the Dragon has a very intense and thick atmosphere. And that's the thing I appreciate most about it, I think, and why it's my favorite.
Thanks to the Z-Fighters, Hirudegarn was destroyed. After a short rest, the hero Tapion returned to his own era in the time machine.
Trunks!
As he departed, he presented Trunks with a gift.
For me?
Yes, I don't need it anymore.
Yeah!